Hi. Almost without exception today, religious scholars say that Christianity is in the midst of a major transformation. Sometimes we even hear people say things like, at least in our culture, that the church is dying. And the evidence of that is the fact that often historical mainstream denominations, certainly their numbers are decreasing, and most congregations find that their numbers are slipping, both in terms of attendance and giving. Yet, the church is not dying. Christ Church is not dying. But as scholars are saying, Christ Church is in the midst of a huge transformation right now. In fact, I believe it's Phyllis Tickle who wrote that the church is in its semi-millennial rummage sale. There's an interesting image, isn't it? The last time being the Protestant Reformation, about 500 years ago. And that the church right now is in this process of trying to decide what it should discard and what's important. What makes for living the gospel out as vital and hopeful and speaks to the heart of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and what is not, what is superfluous, what are things that we need to learn to set aside that really are not about the life of faith. Now, that's a never-ending conversation, and you ask 100 people, you'll get 100 different answers as to what's important and what is not. But I think what is critical right now in what this period of what some call emerging Christianity, that's one term for it. Actually, we don't have a term for this period. We look back and we see the Protestant Reformation. We can look back 500 years prior to that, and we could see the division of the Eastern and the Western Church, which now becomes the Church of Rome and the Orthodox Church of the East. And we're in this period right now in which the church is in this huge transformation. And I love the image of a rummage sale. I think it's really helpful. And it just means that the church is going to emerge into that which is more relevant because it is the body of Christ. And Christ has promised that, as Scripture speaks in the Old Testament, my word will not return to me barren, but it might return looking different. And I think that's the hard part for us, those of us, certainly me who represents an older age, to let go. It's hard to let go of things that have been important and valuable in my life of faith and things that I've shared with others that have been equally valuable to them. At the same time, if I was in my 20s and 30s, I probably would not find those things as valuable right now. And the church, the historical church, would probably not be as relevant to me as it is to my parents or my grandparents. So that brings us to the nexus of the issue, the problem, that kind of pinch point where history is passing through. What will we let go of in order to lay claim to that which is more important? And I find a sense of vitality and excitement in people of faith. And sometimes there's words like being inclusive or demonstrating hospitality, those kinds of images that seem to be keys to what is emerging. Younger people today are much more inclined to look for that which they hold in common with others as opposed to that which separates them, which would be more reflective of my generation. And I find something enormously helpful in that young people today are looking for those themes, those images, those common pieces of humanity that bind them together, and in fact can become an expression of faith about how we live out a life of faith that makes room for the other. That is enormously helpful, enormously helpful. I think of in the life of this parish, for example, times that there was a great vitality. I remember there was a time when there was a gentleman who was a self-avowed atheist, but his worship practice was very faithful. And another gentleman who grew up Muslim, but wasn't renounced that, but he was worshiping here. And another person who was Hindu. But the point of that being, it wasn't that we were diminishing the gospel of Jesus Christ, not at all, but that we were believing that that gospel meant that there was some spirit that said that we look for that which holds us in common. And sometimes it was around sharing bread and wine, or other sacramental elements that kind of bind us together. And while this could seem kind of wiggy for people who are concerned about orthodoxy, I would just simply say that I'm very excited about where Christ Church is going. And I'm incredibly hopeful. And even though it means that many of the symbols that I hang on to that seem so important to me, that cling to walls and cling to my heart, I'm going to have to learn to let go of them. Yet I know Christ's Spirit is equally present in the church that is emerging as in the church that has been in the past. So we're in this semi-millennial rummage sale. Fascinating image, isn't it? Isn't that fascinating? What are we going to let go of to become the church that we're to become? I'm kind of excited about it, but I also admit I'm kind of fearful about it. But my friend, Buddy Christ, will be present in both ages. So I look forward to your thoughts. God bless you. Keep me in your prayers. I'll keep you in mind. Bye now.